Welcome back, everybody. This is Sarcasm Speaks. It's Jared and Bob, and you can see we got a very special guest with us today. We got Iain MacMillan from, Jesus, I feel like fucking everywhere now. Here, I guess you could say originally fan-sided. I mean, before you were at Odd Shark, right? But now you're everywhere. Not Vegas Insider, but
yes,
yep.
I am doing
Vegas
some
Insider.
Vegas Insider.
You're all over the
Hammer
fucking
Network.
place.
Yes, I'm just trying to get my face in front of as many people as possible. I'm just trying to get people to get sick of looking at me every day on their Twitter feed. So
I was gonna say
goal.
We'll get to your Twitter feed, but it sounds like they're starting to get there.
Yes, that's a fact.
Because I have a quick opening thought. Now, Iain, obviously, originally from Canada, you're in New York now.
Yes.
Massachusetts sports betting retail went live today, 10 a.m.
Yes.
So Win was doing like a lottery, or I guess Encore was doing a lottery. That book's powered by Win, where like 20 or 30 people were able to go in, place the first bets, whatever. So, we've been for weeks they've been saying 10 a.m. and they just finally like allowed it to go through yesterday. Like that's what like the occupancy certifications came through. So I decided I'll go over to Plain Ridge, which is only 20 minutes from work, and small casino, like slot parlor, whatever. And Ninkovich is supposed to be placing the first bet. So I'm like, okay, well, they're doing something. So at 10 a.m., you know what? I won't go at 10 a.m. I'll like head over at like noon, whatever, see what the deal is. And I've never been over there. So get over there, 20 minutes. I go in and I'm looking around and I'm like, something's not right here. So I walk over to the bathroom. I go, let me regather myself for this. So I head over because it's a temporary sports book because they're going to renovate a restaurant to make the permanent one. And I see the kiosks. I'm like, they're not on. And I'm like, why aren't the fucking kiosks on? But there's people everywhere. Only problem is they're all wearing suits. Now, as a gym owner, I'm wearing sweatpants and like a jacket.
Also, walking into a sports book, that's a funny sight to see. Just a dude in sweats.
No. I am dressed for the facility.
Oh yeah.
I assure you, there were more people wearing sweatpants than there were wearing suits. But I'm looking around and I'm like, this ain't right. And I'm also trying to figure out where the fuck do I go to get into this little temporary sports book. I'm like, there's no like entrance, whatever. So I see like one of the security guys, because I'm looking, there's like 4 state troopers standing by a velvet rope. I'm like, what is going on here?
Was Joe Biden there?
Like, seriously. So I go over to the security. I go, hey man, what's going on with the sports book? Just, whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, Rob Ninkovich is coming at 1:00 to place the first bet. I go, what the fuck have you been doing for 3 hours besides accumulating people in suits and shit?
Yeah, it's like he's been retired for like 6 fucking years. He doesn't have to do anything at 10 a.m. Just let him get there at 10 a.m.
Should I know who Rob Ninkovich is?
No. He's a former Patriots player.
Yeah, he was like a D-end outside linebacker.
He won a couple Super Bowls,
but I mean, on 2 of the Super Bowl teams.
You spend enough time on that team, you win a couple Super Bowls.
So now this is the problem. Does Ty Law ring a bell?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Ty Law. Okay, good, perfect. So Ty Law was at Encore. Rob Ninkovich is at Plainville. This is like the difference in location, where Encore is only a few miles north of Boston, and Plainville is a few miles south of the stadium, which is like 40 miles south of Boston.
Got it.
So he goes, oh yeah, Rob Ninkovich, 1:00. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. It's 12:15.
Ooh.
I'm like, I'm not staying. No way. I go, this is a gong show. Like, this is like absolute amateur hour. And I'm like, I'm like 18 minutes away from work. I'm gonna go, I'll just go back. So needless to say, because I had to work the rest of the day, no sports betting in person for me today. I tried.
Yeah. I was going to ask you guys if you placed a bet. So no bets on the first day.
No, wasn't able to. No. I wanted to. There was going to be some Masters, some coin toss.
Have they announced when the mobile sports betting starts?
No, just they're saying March.
Yeah.
Is
It's a
that
wonderful
have
state.
all states done that? Like the in-person first and then mobile after, or is this unique?
So I truthfully, this is the only state I've followed, and I've followed it pretty closely. Bill Spiros and I think it's Ryan Linehan. They've done a really good job of covering it for me. So I just read their tweets. And I do know that there was something happening behind the scenes where the casinos were gonna get first crack.
Right.
And because that was like the theme from very early on. It's like, oh well, mobile might come later. And it's like, bro, we haven't even talked about like anything. And you're already saying that mobile's coming later. So
Right. Yeah, because Ohio just launched recently. They launched mobile and in person at the same time.
yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
should have.
I mean,
but-
there's really no reason for you to even know what goes on in Massachusetts, but especially like with sports betting. But it's been an absolute shit show. They legalized it over a year ago, a year and a half ago, and it's taken this long just to get in person live.
Yeah, and even the process even leading up to was even worse. It was like they were doing a hearing on Barstool Sportsbook, and they tabled the Barstool Sportsbook vote because of Dave Portnoy. And it's like, okay, understood. He is, the main marketer for Barstool, but the sportsbook has its entire own operation. They have their
Right.
own gaming board, like
Right.
compliance stuff. It's like you basically took like a sports book, ignored everything that they had to say about their processes, their regulations, all that stuff, and just go, yeah, but the New York Times wrote this article about this guy and we don't like him.
Right.
Like, awesome.
Everything I've seen about it is that it looks like it's been a shit show.
It's all just been just stupidity. Because
Right.
what was the big one with MGM? Because MGM was second. MGM. So the thing with MGM was their in-person and mobile platform is BetMGM.
Right.
So when MGM went to get their retail license approved, the board looks at them and goes, oh, well, this is the same operator looking for mobile, so we'll just have to wait until we're voting for mobile. It's like you ask for separate applications. It's the same entity doing a retail and a mobile, so they tabled that one too. So whoever works for Win, they figured it out because their presentation split the two companies or split the two entities. That would be like WinBet versus Encore Sportsbook. They addressed what happened with Steve Wynn all those years back. Like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This, like, someone figured it out because they got voted retail on the first day.
It's like the kid that goes last in the presentation
Yes.
knows like how everyone else fucked up.
Right. Well,
basically what happened.
you guys are on your way. You can bet in person.
Yeah. So it's
I'm
here,
guessing probably
I'll just go back tomorrow.
Yeah, you can play some bets tomorrow. Mobile's coming at some point.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah. Sometime in March, I guess.
Sometime
They've been
March.
approved. The operators have been approved,
Hopefully before March Madness.
you would think.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things the commissioners,
Right.
oh, I just don't understand why sporting events would drive when we legalize or when we implement our plans. It's like, because that's the product.
Right.
The product
Yeah.
is the sporting events.
What a missed opportunity to not have mobile sports betting before the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It was wild. The Mass Gaming Commission is, I don't know, how many are there? Do you know? Five? There are 5 people. I think 2 of them on the committee are actually like normal people. But the other 3 are either complete morons or hate sports betting. And the commissioner of the MGC has been like anti-sports betting through this entire time. Like, the things that she's been saying are like, what do you mean? Like, this has already been legalized. Like, we voted on this. Like, we want it. Like, give the people what they want.
Not only that, give the people what the legislators approved.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little bit almost like of still like a disdain that it was coming here. Like, that was like the general attitude that I kind of got from some of the comments, like even later on when they approved all of the operators but hadn't approved like or given the okay to like launch yet. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
I mean, there seems to be a lot of just incompetence at several states. I mean, two of the biggest states, they don't even look like they're close to getting sports betting, California and Texas.
No, they're not.
Yeah, California actually voted against it.
Right.
Like pretty resoundingly.
Yeah,
I
they
think.
took a vote, and I think it was like 60% of the vote voted no.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I was like, okay,
It's
well,
insane. Makes no sense.
that's insane. Like, you guys don't know how much revenue this is going to bring in for the
Right.
state. Like, this is wild.
Do you see the figure coming out of New York after the divisional weekend?
It's like $1 billion.
So they did like probably $1 billion in handle just on the Giants and the Bills.
That's
Just
insane.
on those games, the state and tax revenue took 30 million, which means the books
Wow.
profited 60 million. So to figure out that out on the handle, that means it must have been probably about 600,000 wagered, maybe a little bit less because both New York teams lost. I'm sorry, a little bit more of a percent because both New York teams lost, obviously, and didn't
Right.
cover.
Right.
Yeah, 30 million for the state in tax revenue, 2 games.
That's insane. That's so much money.
It's
It makes
just
no
stupid.
sense why some states are just refusing to do it. It's
Yeah.
so much money being left on the table.
Just stupid.
It really is.
But that being said, it is in fact here.
Right.
Retail's available. It looks like Encore. No, because for anyone that's not in Massachusetts, the third spot is in Springfield, which is an hour and a half west of Boston on a good day. No one's going out that far. No one lives out there. It's like dragons and shit. So that's why I've primarily talked about Encore. Encore seems to be set up, ready to go. They have their shit together. Our buddy is unhappy with their lines because he likes to do crazy ass alternates and basically play lottery tickets. And he's unhappy with the WinBet Sportsbook. But I think they have probably the strongest operation. I'll check out Plainridge tomorrow. It is only a temp, but it looks like the window's set up. It looks like there's enough kiosks and no one will probably be there. So I should be able to get in and out, no problem. And then, by the time we know it, mobile will be here.
Yeah, and it's a lot better than what we thought. When the ball finally started rolling, in like August, when they started actually doing things to
Something
put
like
it in
that.
motion. We were joking around being like, oh, they'll approve it, July 10th, it'll start, which is, for anyone that doesn't know sports, that's the black hole of sports times.
Right.
There's no baseball, there's no football, there's no hockey. We were like, yeah, they'll probably roll out sports betting, the week after the 4th of July, because
Right.
that's the state. That's what we do here.
Still miss the Super Bowl though, or at least the mobile.
Mobile misses the Super Bowl, so it'll have to be in person. Then, I don't know if these places will have a full prop sheet, full everything. I don't know. I know you can't bet the anthem in Massachusetts because it doesn't actually relate to the gameplay.
And I also don't think you can bet on colleges that are located in the state too, right?
Unless it's a tournament. So we have the Beanpot hockey tournament, which is 4 schools. They play over 2 consecutive Mondays. You can bet on that. And any team that makes the NCAA tournament, you can bet on.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, New York's the same way where you can't bet on. So I got to bet offshore anytime I want to bet college basketball involving a New York team.
Yeah.
Some states though does it, like I think Arizona, you can bet on Arizona colleges. I don't think it matters.
Illinois switched because they originally banned in-state betting and then they switched. So now I think you can do. Someone would have to confirm or deny. I think it's sides and totals, no player props.
College player props in general are hard to find. I don't think I've ever been on a college player prop.
Yeah, that's tough. And I mean, for what it's worth, Massachusetts doesn't have any real colleges, when it comes to sports anyway.
Boston College. Go
Go
Eagles.
Yeah. I mean, anyone that lives around here,
you know what though, the Yahoos,
not a college town.
Still want to bet on them though.
Although the Riverhawks,
the UMass Lowell Riverhawks.
That's
Boston
a great
College
team.
legend, Matt Ryan.
This is true. That was the only time that I think BC was relevant, like in the Boston sports air.
Weren't they nationally ranked number 1 or 2 for like a week when Ryan was there?
Well, Ian, I'm glad you asked. They were number 2 in the country, and that was in 2007. That was the year
that was
where
the crazy 2007.
all the number 2s lost to your truly the Seminoles and Drew Weatherford. I'm a Florida State football fan. So I remember that because BC won on a Thursday night at Virginia Tech, and people were like, "Oh my God, what just happened? That can't that doesn't happen. No one wins at a Thursday night at Virginia Tech." And then like the very next week, I don't remember where it was. I don't know if Florida State went to alumni or not, but then Florida State and Drew Weatherford won, knocking them off.
Why are you a Florida State college fan?
So it goes I'll try to abbreviate the long story. So up here, the Red Sox were terrible in the mid-90s when I was a kid. So my father used to watch Braves games because it was on TBS and every game was on. So I would hear the tomahawk chop. I'm like 5-6 years old.
Right.
I would hear the tomahawk chop. And then at the same time, when Florida State is kicking the shit out of everybody in the mid-90s, they play the tomahawk chop too. So that dragged my attention. And then by 98, I was like noticing, I'm like, oh, wow, this team's like in the national championship. So as an 8, 9, 10-year-old, it's like, ooh, the hot team. And then it would just get reinforced when people would be like, no, you have to like BC. BC's the local team. I go, but I'm a hockey player. I like BU hockey, but BU doesn't have football. So why would I root for BC? Like, so that's why I ended up on
BU is always one of the top hockey teams in the country, aren't they?
Yeah. They're
I don't know anything about American college hockey.
Yeah, basically BU, Minnesota.
There's been more variance lately, honestly. Like there was a run where it was like Minnesota, Wisconsin, BU, BC, end it.
Didn't like Arizona State or someone go on a run recently?
They went D1 not too long ago because everyone used to say, like everyone around here, oh, I'll go play club at Arizona State. But they say it's harder to play club at Arizona State than it is to play for whatever because everyone wanted to go there because it was nice and the women are good looking or whatever.
Right.
And it was only club hockey, but yeah, they had a strong club, D1 club hockey team, and then they went NCAA. So I can't keep up because then it's like St. Cloud State versus Bemidji, and I'm like, I don't even know where these places are. I mean, they're all in Minnesota and Wisconsin, but like Michigan. But
so when it comes to the betting on football, you had yourself quite a year. Depending on how you want to look at it, I guess.
I had myself a year. I mean, the year certainly happened.
Yeah. So so for anyone that doesn't know, this is what, the 3rd or 4th time you've been on the show, I think, something like that. I don't know, but
yeah, 3rd or 4th.
So you do this thing called the Road to 272 Bets, where you bet on every single NFL football game throughout the season, and you've done pretty well, I would say. I think it's it's not a stretch to say that. But this year was probably the first year that had a little hiccup.
Yeah, so this is my 3rd year doing it, betting on every single NFL game. The first 2 years was profitable. The first year I did it, I think I was up around 5 units. Last year I finished up like 27 units or something like that. Decided to do it again this year. Did not go well. But still, at the end, so I finished around down 12 units. Really, at the end of the day, over 272 bets, betting on every single game. Down 12 units isn't the worst thing in the world. But then what has happened now in the playoffs is, of course, I go, how many weeks of regular season? 18 weeks. And then I make up all my losses in like 3 weeks of playoff betting on the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm 11-1 in spread bets in the playoffs. And if you include, I've done player props for almost every game as well. So I think I'm like 20-5 overall, which now brings me profitable for the full season if you count the regular season. It just makes no sense.
Yeah,
I'm handicapping the games the same way I have all season.
Yes.
And I go 18 weeks sucking, and then like 3 weeks I do the best I've ever done over a 3-week stretch. It doesn't make any sense.
It's wild. Like you've been on an absolute heater in the playoffs. And I don't know. I never finished my my stats for this season. I think I tailed off on like week 15. Because I have nothing better to do. I track like, you know, how the favorites do each week, and I do the splits versus like home, away, favorites, dogs, whatever. And I've been doing it. I think this is either my third year, or this was my fourth year. I have 3 full years of data, and it's been weird that the favorites have been winning at a high clip, but they have not been covering.
Yes.
Which after the first season I did it, you know, I tell Bob, and we have another buddy, Vinny, who, you know, we all like to gamble, and, you know, we talk a lot of sports betting and stuff like that. And we were all like, oh, that's a really weird thing, but like, it's probably a one-off year, like no big deal. And then the second year it happened again. And I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't know. And I don't know if it's one of those, I don't know the word. I'm not smart enough, but I know there's a term in like quantum physics that like, if you observe something, it changes like how it
Yes.
acts.
Right.
So this is like when you buy a Ford Bronco and you start seeing them everywhere. Is this the same thing?
Yeah, basically.
I don't know if that's quantum physics or psychology, but I think we're close.
But it's like, I don't know. I don't know what it is like, but at the same time, this is like empirical data, right? Like this isn't like a subjective thing. It's like the favorite either covers the spread or they don't, or they either win the game or they don't. But for 3 years in a row, I can see if I can pull it up really quickly. But for 3 years in a row, the favorites were winning the games by like, you know, somewhere between like 57 and like 61%, but they were covering only like 47%.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, especially I realized maybe I was just off on my underdog money line plays, because I do at least one money line upset a week, and that was kind of what killed me in the regular season. Was the past couple of years I was winning a portion of those bets, and I just could not win these underdog. And a lot of the time when I was doing that, they were covering the spread but not winning on the money line. So yeah, it seemed like, especially this past season, favorites were winning games a lot but not covering. And I actually did a lot better job betting underdog spread than favorite spread. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is, especially in the NFL, to win with margin and cover these spreads. These are obviously all NFL, you know, professional players. It's not like it's in college where there's a massive skill discrepancy between teams. I mean, just look at the Kansas City Chiefs. This goes back now over the last 3 seasons. They've been the best team in the NFL over the past 3 seasons. Patrick Mahomes has been the best quarterback in the NFL over the past 3 seasons. And they have one of the worst against the spread records year in and year out. Because it's hard to cover a spread, and they continuously get set as like 7-point, 8-point, 9-point, 12-point favorites. And even if they're playing against a shitty team, it's hard to cover those spreads. So yeah. It's tough to lay points.
I have it here. So I have it. This was my 3rd year of collecting everything. So I haven't finished this year. I have to go back and retroactively, you know, fill in the numbers. But the 2020 to 2021 season, favorites won straight up 68% of the time, but only covered 44%.
Yeah.
And then last year they won 63% and only covered 47%. And then this year, again, I didn't finish this season, but through like week 15, they won 61% and only covered 44%. So, and that's almost 3 years of a sample size. So I think I'm kind of ready to get on board with what you just said. Like, some of these spreads are too big, but then you have to think like, all right, well, what's your number? Right? Like, is it anytime you see an 8.5, are you just going to take the dog? You know, like I don't know, because that doesn't work. It's not a clean like 1-for-1, right? Like, right. You don't know. I don't know. It's fucking hard.
You can never bet it blind, because right. if you bet it blind, you're always going to be 50% plus or minus. Right. So when we do our weekly pick 'em pool where you pick every single one, everyone's right around 50% plus or minus 3 to 6% either way.
Because I crushed it this year.
Yeah, but you still ended up only at like 55, 56.
Yeah, I had a tough. I limped across the finish line.
So, even though you were at 62 at one point, and it ended up starting to come back towards 56, and like that's why it's like an unbelievable year. But then it's like you look in last place for anyone that did it every week, might be 45, 46.
I mean, that's why it's so hard and why there's so few professional bettors, even though social media, if you spend any time on there, they make you think that there's millions of professional bettors out there. But actual people who actually their source of income is betting professionally, they hit it like a 54, 55% rate. But what they're doing is they're betting like $10,000 a game.
Yeah.
And they're not betting on regulated legal sportsbook, which I think is one of the most disgusting things about legalized regulated sportsbooks in the States, that if you're a winning bettor, they just ban you. They just go, no, only losing bettors are allowed to bet. They literally will just ban you. They're just not allowed to bet. So now professional bettors, well, first of all, they can't use regulated books, so they have to go offshore. But that's part of being a sports book, is that you should, if someone can beat you, then you have to let them beat you. So yeah, so it's hard to be professional bettor. You got to hit at that rate, and then they were also betting $10,000 a game, because if you're only hitting at a 55% clip, you finish the season up like 20 units. You bet $1,000 a game. That's still only $20,000. You can't live on $20,000. So these guys bet $10,000 a game, and
or like some of them will they'll move into like, all these offshore accounts, and it's like they might place thousands of bets a day or something.
Right. Yeah. On a Sunday, they might have, I don't know if they place 1,000 bets a day, but they're placing a ton of bets. And if it's $10,000 a bet, they might have $160,000 worth of bets going on at once. It's insane, because they're doing offshore. Sometimes they got to, deposit and withdrawal in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and sometimes they have to
robots calling the Asian markets, and
and sometimes they have to get like people to place bets for them in Vegas, because there are some sports books that won't limit bettors in Vegas, like Circa Sports, I know, doesn't limit bettors. The offshore book that a lot of professional sports bettors use is Pinnacle. They don't limit bettors. But yeah, it's tough. But if you go on social media, people make you think that every 10th person is a professional sports bettor.
Yeah, well, everyone's unit size is 5 figures,
right?
As we found out this past week, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
This past week has been pretty entertaining to follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've gotten the mud on Twitter. It's something I used to do a lot more back in my Odd Shark days, I think. But this past week, I'm fighting in the trenches on Twitter. I think what started it is all is I'm not a huge TikTok guy. I go on it sometimes, but lately, over the past couple of weeks, sports betting TikTok has showed up on my TikTok feed, and it makes me more angry than I think anything else in the world. So yeah, it's the 10K challenge. Have you guys been doing the 10K challenge?
Oh yeah, of course. I hit it all the time.
Of course, it's easy.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing in the world.
The one trick sports books hate.
Yeah.
One easy trick.
The easiest way to make money.
Yes.
What is it, a 10-teamer? 10-team parlay?
So are you not familiar with it?
I'm not familiar with the actual details.
So what these guys do is it's a 10K challenge. So their goal is to bet a plus 100 bet every day for 10 days straight, and it's starting with $10, and once you roll it over 10 straight days, then it ends up being $10,000. And their secret trick, though, is instead of just betting like a plus 100 on a small underdog on the money line, each day is like a 6 to 8 leg parlay of NBA player props, and they're all like minus 500 bets.
That's even.
So they think, even though the parlay comes out to like plus 100 or plus 105, they think that's like pulling a trick on the sports book, and that those are easier to hit than just a money line plus 105. They don't realize that plus 105 odds is plus 105 odds, and they're not like pulling the wool over the eyes of the sports books like it's some hack. And also, to roll over the bet each day for 10 days straight, that's mathematically the exact same as just laying a 10 leg parlay, because that's
right
how parlays are calculated. Is it's as if each leg the money rolled over. So they're just doing 10 leg parlays but they're
With more
they're
steps.
with more
Yeah.
steps. They're now stretching it out over 10 days, and then each leg of the parlay is like a 6-game same game parlay of NBA player props that are all like minus 400. And then one of them loses, like last night, because there's one guy who's like leading this whole charge. And first of all, I don't even care if you play these bets, but people just misunderstand how likely they are to hit. So last night, part of this, the popular one that's going around had Barnes or some NBA player to score at least 10 points, and he had a bad game and it didn't hit, and everyone's now saying that the NBA is rigged, and they called in this guy to not score points because this one guy on TikTok gave out is to try to complete the 10K challenge, and it's a headache. So I've been fighting on Twitter with people who literally tell me that 2 plus 100 bets don't have the exact same chance of hitting when they do, and it feels like I'm taking crazy pills talking to these people because they don't get it.
Yeah.
Sam Panayotovich got into it on a similar but different topic over the Brett Maher, the kicker,
Yeah.
Brett Maher, where now your argument, and I remember seeing your argument. Your argument's even easier because math is math.
Right.
What he was saying, because the him to miss an extra point was plus 250, and he goes, "Wow, that is a horrible number." And part of the reason why he said, wow, it's a horrible number is because I think the Superbook hung plus 500 and it was a two-way market. So whoever hung the 250 was a one-way. You couldn't take the other side.
Right.
And he goes, this is a bad number. People are like, why? It's going to hit. He has the yips. It's going to hit. And they're like, well, plus 250 on something that's guaranteed to have. Like they're doing that whole thing. And he's like, that doesn't mean it's a good bet or a good number because plus 500 is actually out there. And then never mind, the true odds for him to make that kick was plus 1325, 13 to 1. I'm sorry, to miss an extra point was 13 to 1.
Right. Because on the season, he had made 96% of his kicks or something like that
in his career.
Oh, in his career. Yeah, that's right.
There was he was like 93% in his career and 93% true odds. Right. Or I guess so 7% true odds is 13 to 1. And then people are like, yeah, but he's going to miss. He has the yips. Like you can't handicap the yips.
Right.
And it's like, and then what do you know? He gets the first one blocked. It's like,
right.
God damn it.
Here's the thing. And I was thinking about more about this today as I was in the trenches arguing with people on Twitter. I think what's happening, and I think why it's making me so upset and I need to kind of maybe step back a little bit, is I've been betting for a very long time because obviously sports betting has been legal in Canada. So I've gone through these stages before. So when I started betting, well, in Canada at that point, you had to bet parlays. So my sports betting started with only betting parlays, and I'd bet like 50 in a row and not hit one. And then there was a moment in time, the first couple of bad beats I experienced, I'd be like, oh, this game is rigged. They don't want me to win. So I think they're just stages that you have to go through as a sports bettor before you start educating yourself and trying to find out how to actually do it successfully. And I think now with sports betting becoming legal in a bunch of different states, I think what I'm just seeing is I'm seeing people go through the same stages I went when I started off being a sports bettor and thought, parlaying all these minus 500 picks was somehow pulling a trick on the sports books. And this was the way I'm going to get rich. I'm just, it's easy. I just got to parlay all these minus 600 bets and I'll get
free
rich.
Money.
Right. There's no way this is going to lose. It's a lock. It's guaranteed. Yeah. So maybe I do need to take a bit of a step back. And I think these people, like a lot of them did agree with what I was saying and got it, but I'd gotten some arguments with a ton of people as well. Maybe I just need to maybe they just need to live through it. Because maybe they just need to experience it for themselves. Because I lost a lot of money betting on sports before I got half decent at it. And these were the same lessons that I learned that they have to learn as well.
Yeah.
That could be.
It's a big part of it because there's a lot that goes into sports betting where we all know the odds are stacked way against us.
Right.
And you need to acknowledge that it is really, really, really difficult to win. You are not supposed to win. And anytime that you can find an edge or you can show over time that you can win at like a small clip, that's incredible because these odds are set for you to lose.
Right. And sports books are not going to, like, if you could do same game parlays that are going to win over the long term, sportsbooks would not let you bet same game parlays and parlay minus 600. Like, these sportsbooks are smart. They know what they're doing.
Right.
But
Like you just said, they ban people that are too good at betting.
Right.
Like, they're not going to allow people to just take all their money.
Right.
Yeah,
And
even-
if you're doing something, and they catch you too, like even sometimes sports books will ban people who chase steam, which, if you don't know what that means, is basically like if some kind of news comes out, and as soon as it breaks, you go and bet it before the line moves. So basically you're just quicker to act, quicker than the sports books are. Sports books will just ban you from doing that because it's a proven method of how you can win bets. So if they're going to just ban people for chasing steam, if you figured out the 10K challenge is a secret to getting rich, and it was, they would just ban you. They're letting you do this for a reason.
Yeah. Actually, so both of us had it. We had a bet canceled. The Buffalo game that got moved to Detroit. The second I saw that game got moved, I went and hit the over. It was like 42.
Yeah.
And I was like looking at it, I'm like, they're not going to let this go through. And then it goes through, I go, and this is an offshore, but I'm looking and I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird that went through. I figured like I didn't just beat them. And then like 4 hours later, the bet was canceled.
Yeah,
so
they canceled it.
Yeah, that'll happen. So
and we talked about it too on the show, and I think I tweeted at you in response to one of these hullabaloos, but it's quite literally in the odds, the American odds, whatever that number is, directly correlates to what's called implied probability. Right. And so it's like these people think that like these numbers don't mean anything, right? Like, so to what you said before, if you have a 10-team parlay that ends up being plus 100 or 1 plus 100 money line bet, if the odds of something are plus 100, then that means that they have the same probability of hitting, which is 50%.
Plus 100 is 50-50.
Yeah, I have an implied probability calculator. You type in the American odds and it tells you the number. So it's like the minus 110 standard juice is 52.4%. That's the implied probability that bet is going to hit. So it's literally a numbers game. Like, there's no way to like go around this and say like, oh, this is the way you're going to beat the books, right? Like we're all just saying like it's not. That's not how that works.
Right. Yeah. One guy specifically said odds don't equal probability. I mean, it quite literally does. Like if you look up the definition of odds, it's a number based on implied probability. Like the arguments I'm having are insane.
Yeah, it's just that in the gambling world, they're chosen to be representative in multiple different ways, right? There's American odds, there's decimal odds, there's all kinds of different ways to display it. But at the end of the day, what it is a percentage. It represents a percentage.
Right. And the only gray area is it's like when a book hangs a number, it's their implied probability, because that's why like you would see like a different and then, but we're not talking value here, we're talking math.
Right.
And it's like, well, I think that should be like, because they say it too on sometimes like, well, a minus 600 favorite, that there could be value there sometimes. And I'm like,
but then, and then the conversation turns into finding an edge and handicapping the game.
Yeah, which is not what
which is a different conversation. Like, sure, there might be some bets out there, like if it's plus 100, I think it should be priced at minus 115. So I think there's some value there, but that's a different conversation. You have to base everything off what the sports books are basing it off of. They're not going to let you do a parlay of 6 minus 500 picks that comes out to minus or plus 110, and it's actually like a minus 300 play, but the sports books you're just pulling a fast one on them and you're getting it at plus 110 odds. Like, that's not the way that this works.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's been a fun few days on Twitter.
I enjoy it. It's fun to watch.
I would say, I hope you're enjoying it.
Most people agree with me, which is nice for a change, because I used to get in the mud on Twitter, like I said, a lot more, and people don't agree with it. It sucks when most people don't agree with you, but this one, most people are agreeing with me. But then the ones who disagree with me, like, they're so their
very
opinion is
strong
so
about it.
strong, and it's like, this is not like an opinionated thing. I'm just telling you the math and what odds are.
Yeah.
And some people, like one guy messaged me telling me to self-harm, like, and then he blocked me. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude.
These people are nuts.
Relax.
Yeah,
These
holy
people
shit.
are nuts.
Yeah, that's someone that probably needs to make a phone call to a therapist or something.
Like, there's got to be a hotline or a teddy bear or something.
Yeah, and then there's the portion of Twitter I got into an argument with today, because I also kind of brought this upon myself, was the people who say all the sports are rigged whenever they lose a bet, which is another portion of Twitter. Like, every sport's rigged, it's all scripted.
So
but then,
I
when things don't follow the script that they think it's supposed to be, then they just like forget about that. Because remember, heading into the divisional round, the big, even Warren Sharp put out a video like implying that the NFL had it rigged, that the Chiefs and Bills are going to play in the AFC Championship because there's neutral site and it's way more money. It's the matchup they all want. And then the Bills lost, and then all those people who say the NFL is rigged just like completely forgot about that and then just pointed to something else. It's like, no matter what happens, they're going to point to something and say it was rigged. Well, but when their theories don't work out, it's like, oh, never mind. We'll just move on to the next thing.
They waited for Chiefs Bengals to go, oh, well, obviously this is
right.
This is obviously rigged towards the Chiefs. Like, look at the refs, look at the calls. And then somehow some people conveniently forget that the DN or linebacker, whoever, makes that penalty and moves the field goal from 60 to fucking 45.
Right.
So all those calls, all those flags that were rigging the game,
right?
The Chiefs were going to have to kick they were either going to have to throw a quick out or they were going to have to kick a 60-yarder.
No, but that defensive player was in on it, though. He got paid
That's
off.
right. He's on the take.
Yeah, he spent 10 minutes crying on the sideline because he was so happy with the money that he got.
Yeah. He almost blew his knee out in
Just
the
like the
process.
NBA player last night who didn't score 10 points. Harrison Barnes, is that an NBA player? He was in on it. Vegas gave him a call and said, listen, we got all these 10K challenges we need to lose. I need you to not score 10 points tonight.
Yeah. So I actually tweeted this out I think yesterday. And it's along the lines of this, of the asking for a refund group of people.
God.
Yes.
I think is the ultimate, like, everybody gets a trophy type of thing, right? Where like we have to make sure everyone feels special and things like that. It's, you gambled your money and you lost. I'm sorry. Like, it's happened to me a lot, quite a bit over the years, but you don't get that money back. Like, sitting there being like, I think the book should refund my bet because the player prop I bet on and the guy got hurt. It's like, that. Okay, well, the guy got hurt. Like, you lost your bet.
Yeah. And here's the thing about that. Number one, that actually gets factored into the odds. When sportsbooks make the odds, the probability, it's a very, 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 very tiny probability, but it does get factored into the price of, if he gets hurt, it doesn't hit. And also, people never bring it up. What about all the people who bet the under on that player prop?
Right.
Do their winnings go back now?
Right.
No. And it shouldn't be. But that's it. It does kind of fall in the sportsbook's fault for doing those kinds of refunds anyways. If a new bettor gets it refunded once, they're going to expect it every time. From a marketing standpoint, I guess it makes sense. It was a good move. It got people talking about the sports books, but now they're seeing the results of that, and people are getting pissed.
What was the big one? The first one, was it Tua? Was it a Tua bet when he got hurt?
I feel like it happened like last year. Like, I feel like it's happened a little bit more often recently, but I feel like the first time it happened was like last year.
So the very big one that I remember was Draymond Green was like, he was hurt, and
I remember that. Yeah.
And like, it was kind of like the rumblings around were like that he might not play, but he might play. And then people got word that he was just going to come in, take the tip, and then like foul and leave the game.
Right.
So everyone went in and smashed his under. And I don't know if they refunded anyone who took the over. They definitely didn't cancel the bet because, that's the thing. That was the first one where they were sometimes, like, I think over bettors were being refunded because they didn't feel like he did what he was supposed to do, or he misled everybody. I don't know. Like that was but that's either last season or even maybe the season before.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Because Purdy obviously was the most recent one.
I just looked up an article, 5 times sports books refunded. Did they refund Purdy wagers?
I don't think they did, but people were calling for it.
Yeah, that's what
5
people
times
were.
sports books refunded wagers after something weird happened. Yeah, so they've done this kind of thing in the past. Apparently, sports points bet, some Yankees bettors refund. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got to stop doing it.
Yeah, they and that's the thing with like the DraftKings, the FanDuels, like they'll probably end up being fine just on volume and popularity, but they'd probably be a lot better off just trying to be like a reputable sports book and not just trying to make every person on Twitter happy.
Right.
Like, don't limit people. If I want to put $200 on, at least, like I think someone was saying in Chicago, they tried to do 200 on like the Pacers to win the NBA championship. It was like 50 to 1. And they got limited to $11. It's like the Pacers are not winning the NBA championship. Just let the fucking bet go through.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my number one issue with regulated books. I mean, I feel like that should be borderline illegal.
Yeah, I think
because then what you're saying is you're only allowed to bet on sports if you lose money. Like that doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah,
that's like saying only. Well, not quite. I was going to say that's like saying only alcoholics can buy liquor at stores, but I mean maybe not quite that bad. Yeah. But no, part of the business. But and I've actually been reading in a book. I encourage anyone who really wants to get into sports betting to read. I think it's called The Logic of Sports Betting, and they explain the reason why these big regulated books have to do this is because they have to give so much of their money that they make over to taxes, and then also they give up a lot of money in marketing that they quite literally can't afford to let winning bettors bet at their sports book, because especially the taxes are a big thing. And yeah, sure, getting taxes is a big plus when it comes to letting sports betting become legal, but their margins are already so small, and then they have to give up a certain percentage of their margins over to taxes. Now they're dealing with such a small razor thin line. If they then have to pay out, professional sports bettors tens of thousands of dollars a day for each one, they're going to go to business. So that is also the argument for why they should be able to limit winning bettors, which I thought was an interesting one. So maybe
interesting.
Maybe they need to tax them less, because they do tax them quite a heavy
crazy
amount. Yeah,
quite a bit. Yeah, Massachusetts is what, 20%?
It'll be 15 retail, 20 mobile.
Yeah.
New York's 50.
Yeah. So that is the argument for why, because they're like, if we let winning bettors bet with us, we quite literally will go to business because we can't pay them out with what we're paying for taxes. So
I think
that's an interesting point of view, at least.
Vegas might be anywhere from a fraction of a percent to 2%. I kind of forget what it is.
Which is why the sports books the few of them that don't limit bettors are the ones based in Vegas.
Yep. Because then all I have to do is balance, collect the juice, and they just pay very little in tax.
Right.
That's interesting.
And because that's why, like, so I was listening, I forget who was describing it, but like all the Nevada sports books, like there weren't any until like 1980 something, when they lowered the state tax rate, and then they lowered it again, and then they were all over the place. So that's ultimately what it comes down to, because, what everyone likes to say on Twitter, because everyone's a pro, is, oh, well, the books are just trying to balance, take the 10%, and that's how they make their money. And it's like, yep, it doesn't work when you pay taxes to the state.
Right. And that's actually a myth too, that I actually believed, and I actually repeated, that sportsbooks set lines so they get on purpose, so they get 50% of action on both sides. Actually not true. They actually side with sharp bettors. And usually what happens is those types of books, the FanDuels, the DraftKings, the BetMGMs of the world, they actually don't set their own lines. They actually get lines from a third party, or like an offshore, like a Pinnacle. And they move their lines just based on that offshore third party, or like I said, Pinnacle's like the sharpest book out there. So a lot of them probably use those lines. And then those lines, the ones at the sharp books, like the Circas, like the Pinnacles, base their lines on, they side with sharps. And if they can get a bunch of public money on one side and some sharp money on the other side, they're fine with that. They're willing to risk it, and let a ton of money be on one side. So that is a myth that I repeat it myself. But I now found out is wrong. Books aren't setting lines to try to get 50% of action on both sides.
Right. They just, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't work out. And
That was
then,
like our buddy's grandfather back in the day. The bookie used to call him and be like, "Hey, I got a real liability on the Chiefs. Do you want the Eagles?" And then he would drop a ton of money with the better line on the Eagles.
like, I'll give you,
yeah.
if you take them for 10K, I'll give it to you even money. Whatever.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
But I do want to get into a little bit of a palate cleanser. So you played Bethpage Black last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was fun. I'm not a good golfer to begin with. I talk about golf, I write about golf, I bet on golf, I do golf myself, but I've never gotten a lesson, and I've only been playing for like 6 or 7 years. So I'm a guy who shoots in if I break 100, then I'm fine with a round. Like usually if I play well, I'm like mid 90s. So my goal at Bethpage Black was to break 115, and I shot a 107. So even though 107 is not a good score, I was very happy with it, but it's a beautiful course. Best course I've ever played. Very difficult. It lives up to its name. You know, like when you hit a drive and you feel the golf ball come off your club, like you can tell if it's going to be a good drive or not. The amount of times I would hit a drive and I'd be like, oh, I smacked that. And then sure enough, it would land in a bunker. I think I was in 85 bunkers that round. I think I was in, because the bunkers are all placed in like, if you're going to be off, if you're going to be just a little bit left or right, it's going to end up in a bunker. Like they're all placed at the exact distances and the exact spots that where you miss, it's going to be in a bunker. It was fun though. It was a lot of fun.
Is it walking only?
Yes.
Did you have a caddy, or did you hoof that thing around?
No, I just I had a push cart.
Yeah. Okay.
You could get caddies, but caddies were extra, like it cost like $150 plus tip or something. So I was like, listen, I'm not good enough for a caddy. I've had caddies before where I've played at like private clubs and you have to have a caddy.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing because they're like, just aim for this, like hit your 8-iron. I'm like, buddy, like if I just get this straight, like I'll be happy. Like I'm not worried about exact distance. He's like, it's 183, but hit it 178 to the front. It's like, I'm just gonna aim for the thing and hit it. Like I'm not good enough. I'm just gonna hope for the best. So no, I didn't pay the extra for the caddy, and I don't think a caddy would have helped. The thing that a caddy does help with is that if you're on a new course, if there's like a blind tee shot, he's like, put it down the right-hand side, because on the left-hand side, like there's a bunker, like small improvements like that.
Yeah. I feel like they're better too when it comes to course management stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, where
instead
it's like,
of
hey,
85
maybe
bunkers.
don't hit driver here, you know.
Right. But also Bethpage Black is so long. It's like you have to.
I know.
I got one par the entire day. So it was on a par 3. I think it's like 10, 11, 12, 13, one of those holes, I think. I did par. So that was my accomplishment for the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, I played Kapalua, the plantation course, on my honeymoon back in September.
Hell yeah.
It was unfucking believable. Like I mean, Hawaii was just great. The course, like you say, it was not even close. The most amazing course I've ever played on. And I know Bob is going to go play Pebble this year in June. So it's one of those where it's like the course is just wild. It's just you're kind of just happy to be there. Right?
Yes.
Like I went, my goal was to break 100, and I think I shot a 96.
Nice. That's where the Tournament of Champions is, right?
Yes.
On the PGA. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. It was really cool to like walk into the clubhouse, because I don't know what I was thinking, but I just assumed like because I had to go take a piss. So I just go into the clubhouse and like go into the bathroom, and like in the clubhouse, there's the locker room, and that's where everyone's locker is. So I literally walked by Tiger Woods' locker and Justin Thomas and Cam Smith and all these guys. Like they have nameplates on their lockers. And I was like,
they won?
Yeah. And I go, holy shit, like this is wild. Like and again, I don't know what I was like, I wasn't expecting it. I don't know, like if I thought they had like a separate spot. Right. It's literally just in the clubhouse. And it's one of those where it's like, wow, this is this is literally where they go. Like they're here.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's one of those things where like I want to play more like professional courses just to say that I've been there.
Yes.
You know,
If I
like-
ever get rich someday,
Yeah.
like all the professional bettors on Twitter, that's what I'm
Yeah.
gonna spend my money on, is just going around and playing PGA Tour-esque courses.
Yeah, I would say when you start getting a real unit size,
Right, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
more than just gas
Yes.
money or whatever some
Yeah.
fucking idiot said.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because you do have to pick and choose though, because some of these TPCs, I hear a lot of people like either the tour players or whatever, they're all just like these big, long, same flat,
Right. They,
like
they don't really have too much character to them.
no, there's not
That's
a
what they
ton
say
to
with
them.
TPCs.
So like some like I say, I know you mentioned TPC Louisiana when we were just joking around, and I'm like, you know, man, I don't know if anyone really likes that course. So it's like to shell out like 2.25,
Right.
and you know, like if we're in New Orleans, get that far away, like that might not be worth it. But like a TPC River Highlands, like there's a few things going on there, and obviously I played TPC Boston a few times, and it's not just big, flat, straight, long. Like it's a little different, but you know,
I mean,
there's a
TBC Sawgrass you want to play just for the
Well, yeah.
the
Yeah.
Island Green.
Just to hit 12 balls into the water.
Yes, correct.
or hit it to the fat part, so then it's like you have to putt back and wonder if it's gonna stay on
Yeah.
stay on land. But yeah, some of like whether it's whether it's like a professional or a major, or like there was a professional at one time, like some of those courses, yeah, it is cool. Like we got Myopia Hunt up here, and they give like the rundown. Now I know these majors were played, like the US Opens were played like all prior to 1910. So they're like the highest score at the US Open, and like, you know, this and that, like we have all this here. And I'm like, yeah, but also like there was like 30 guys here, and I don't know if they were golfers.
Right.
Like,
They were playing with legitimate like sticks that they pulled off of the trees.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like this was like 1894.
Yeah. But anytime you can get like old is usually pretty interesting, pretty good. If there's got something unique about it, like the course in Marion, Mass has like stone walls in the middle, and that's where it gets like really fun, where it's not just an ass kicker, because it's like long, straight, big, room for galleries, room for structure. So that's why I'm interested to go to Pebble, because it will be, I think it's a month and a half before the women's open this year.
Oh,
So
nice.
it'll have a little bit of that going on.
Yeah.
And I've played TPC like the Wednesday after the tournament, TPC Boston, like the Wednesday after the tournament. So like some of the structures are still up, but it's still like the golf course. So yeah, it's
sweet.
fun. It's always fun when there's a story there too.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you play a lot now that you're in New York?
No. So I'm part of a thing that's called the Metropolitan Golf Writers Association. So it's basically just a bunch of old golf writers in New York, guys who used to write for like newspapers and magazines. And then there's like me and like two other guys in their late 20s / early 30s. So, but I signed up for that, and they have like an event like once a month where we play like private courses, nice courses. And then the finale is Bethpage Black. That's how I got to play at Bethpage Black.
Oh, nice.
And it's not expensive to join, and you get to play nice courses. So that's once a month. So that's, to me, is like my time when I go golf, because to get anywhere, I'd have to rent a car or take a train for 2 hours. And there's some courses, like I think there's one in the Bronx and one in Queens that I could take a train to, and it'd probably only be like an hour. But they're expensive. They're not nice courses, and apparently I read like they're like 6-hour long rounds. So like, do I really want to go do that by myself? No.
Yeah.
So I just do
that's tough.
this Metropolitan Golf Writer Association. They do it throughout the summer. There's like 6 or 7 events, and that's all I get to do, play golf now. So playing golf has gone on the back burner until I move out to New York at some point.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, I know the last time you were on, which I think was last summer, right before ish, when we were talking about trying to get together, and then I think, you know, all three of us had whirlwinds of summers for various different reasons, but you know, it was I think I was looking at it like I kind of want to see if I can get down to New York and play, this year at least.
Yes.
Barring any more crazy things we all gotta kind of run through. Which the other thing too, I felt kind of bad. So I actually had my bachelor party in August in I was just gonna say Schenectady. Where the fuck did we go?
No, Schenectady is where me and
Schenectady.
Nikos went to the
I
fucking
know.
sports book.
Where did we go?
Saratoga.
And I was gonna text you and be like, hey, I don't know if you're around this weekend, but like we're gonna be in Saratoga. And it was the weekend that you were in Toronto, I think.
Yes.
Something. And I saw
Is Saratoga in New York?
It's
Yeah.
upstate.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. But then the other thing too is like I don't know how easy it is for you to get around.
Yeah, I don't have a car. But like, do zip cars exist up there? Zip cars in New York are just cars you can rent for like a day. So if I go golfing, that's what I do.
Okay. I'm sure we have them. I just don't.
We should.
I've been.
We could probably do it upstate New York. There's a ton of courses up there. We could probably meet up sometime this summer to do it.
Yeah, and then because the other thing I was thinking too, I've recently started following Barstool Foreplay.
Yep.
And I've seen they played a lot on Long Island.
Yeah, there's a ton of courses Long Island too. That'd be a little bit further for you guys though.
So that's the thing. I don't know.
And take a ferry.
Yeah, we could drive to Connecticut and ferry over. So I don't know which one is quicker or not, but
I think like if like somewhere on the like Western Massachusetts border is probably
about 3 hours ish.
That's about 3 hours for us, which is whatever. Like, because again, it's like to drive and then take the ferry is probably similar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably about 2 hours to get to the ferry, and then I don't know, maybe a 45-minute ferry ride.
Yeah, I would say I don't know New York too well, so I could go like White Plains area, right?
Yeah, I've gone to White Plains for work. It's not that bad. It's like 3 hours. I might actually be in New York in like the next month or so.
There you go.
I don't know, Madison Ave. I don't know where that is.
In New York City or upstate?
Yeah, in the city.
Hit me up.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I don't know where Madison Ave is. I've literally been to New York City once in my entire life. So I don't know. You're in.
Look it up right now.
You're in the Bronx now. You said
no. I'm in Manhattan. I'm in Hell's Kitchen is the area.
Okay, that's where we stayed. The one time I went to New York, we stayed in Hell's Kitchen,
just a little southwest of Central Park.
Yep. Yeah. So I'll let you know if I gotta go.
We'll meet up.
I'll be there. I might end up being there for a day or two, depending on how long work stuff takes.
Could even go to a golf simulator. They have those 5-iron golfs all over the city.
Oh wow,
a fun time.
Yeah, that would be pretty good.
Yeah. That's how I'm golfing through the winters. I'm in a 5-iron golf league, one of those simulators that I do once a week. That's a lot of fun.
Oh, nice. Bob has one of those literally attached to his gym. Well, he has one in his gym and he also has one next door.
Hell yeah. Yep. Those are fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a good time. All right. Well, do you want to start wrapping this up?
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know if you remember or not, when we get to the end, we do final thoughts here. So it could be something totally random, whatever you got on the top of your head. If you need a minute, we can one of us can go.
Yeah, you guys go.
All right. All right, Bob, what do you got?
So I just want to I'm going to get professional for a second. So when it comes to like golf fitness things, there's TPI is like the big is like the bigger like certification, and they have like spin-off courses, like you can go like medical or power, juniors, whatever. And the big thing like that, like my networking group is talking about right now, is Golf Digest just came out with a certified fitness trainer thing. And I'm just like sitting here, like the last thing that like fitness needs is a big media company like that peddling a cert. Now I understand like Golf Digest doing a golf cert, like fine. But I'm just sitting here and I'm like, this is insane. And it's
Yeah.
like some of the people in the group took it, or like they're friendly with some of the instructors or some of the course people. I'm just like, they're like, oh yeah, it'll fill in like some of the gaps. And I'm like, that's code for telling me that like this thing is like kind of stupid, but like they're being respectful. So it's like I really like didn't know that like I was gonna get that one today. So yeah, Golf Digest is certifying fitness instructors now.
Interesting. Specifically for golf.
Yeah, for golf. So like again, TPI, like Titleist Performance Institute's the big one. They started it many years ago. I did their certification in 2015, and I did a power it's like a level 2 thing. I did their power certification, and it's good. And I train multi-sport athletes anyway, so it's like I do have a strength and conditioning background, so I do like the blend that I have where it's like I don't just do golf and I'm not just influenced by TPI. I do train other people, and I've learned from other places as well. But I did sit there and I'm like, I don't know if we need I don't know if we need Golf Digest doing it, and B, I don't know if we needed enough. Like, I don't like TPI being the one, but I don't know if Golf Digest is going to bring anything new to the table or nothing that different.
No, but Golf Digest is probably just looking for different avenues for revenue at this point because I think they're hurting.
Yeah. Like you said, what is a media company going to do to add to the fitness industry?
Right.
Like, that's just.
And I actually almost ultimately think it's too big, because if you really want to like certify people and really want to train them, then you want the people who are in the trenches doing these things. But what you're going to have is people who don't train people anymore, or all they do is write, or all they do is model, or all they do is like whatever. And it's like, they're going to tell you very generic, very easy, very simple. And I'm like the one sitting here being like, you know, what I really want is like something on like the high performance side. Like, I understand like some of the mobility stuff, some of the, I got it. Stability. We've been talking about this at least I've known for at least 8 years now. Like, let's get into like some of the actual stuff. Like driveline baseball would be the equivalent for just a different sport, where it's like they have a lot of data on force plates and velocity and like some of like the more technical stuff, like some of like the finite things that on the surface you wouldn't know about baseball, but like, hey, this is how it actually goes. So that's just my professional personal rant.
I like it.
Interesting.
So my final thought, I'm going to go completely off the rails and say that I think, or off the beaten path, I should say. I think cannolis are potentially the most overrated dessert that there is.
Cannolis.
Yep. I think cannolis, potentially this could be a hot take brewing, but I think cannolis kind of suck. So Amy's birthday was last week. And people at her work like brought her like desserts and stuff, whatever. So she took them home. And there were cannolis in there, and I ate one and I was like, wow, I am ridiculously underwhelmed with this cannoli.
Maybe it's just a bad cannoli though.
Yeah,
why are you trashing all cannolis?
I think you got a bad cannoli here.
Well, yeah.
Keep going.
What's not to love about a cannoli? It's
keep going.
So I think in the realm of desserts, right? Like, I would much rather prefer something like a cheesecake or some kind of cookie or whatever. Like, you're going to give me some kind of pastry shell with a ricotta cheese filling that's like something that, I don't know, it's a little underwhelming. Like, sometimes they put chocolate chips on it to like make it look cool, or like they dip it in chocolate. And it's like, unless you have it fresh, the shell gets soggy and it gets gross. Like, it's I don't know. I think they're vastly overrated when it comes to the dessert game.
So part of your take, I'm going to speak for you if I may. part of your take is that they don't stay, so you have to have them in perfect conditions. Yes.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that ain't
Yeah.
the cannoli's fault. That's not.
I mean,
it's
if
now
you get a piece of cheesecake, you can leave that in your fridge for like a week, and you can eat it, and it's still good. A piece of pie
yeah,
is
not
great
everything
forever.
has staying power, man.
Yeah,
not everything can sit and stay. Like,
just ask Jordan Spieth.
he's back. Wait till he wins the Masters this year.
Yeah. No, I thought Rory was going to win the Masters this year.
Well, him and Rahm are going to win every event.
Yeah, he's going to win it all. But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, when it comes to the dessert stuff, I just think, if you give me a list of things to choose from, cannoli's probably going to be one of the lower ones on the list.
See, I think I would be more open to what you had to say if good cannolis weren't as good as they are. And if like the standard like 2-layer yellow vanilla birthday cake existed. Because cake can be very good, but like the just generic yellow cake with vanilla frosting, like 2-layer,
Yeah,
I got no time for that.
Yeah, that's pretty lame. Like your standard like grocery store vanilla cake.
Yes,
That's
like
pretty lame.
That's what I mean. Like if we're gonna underwhelm, because
so I'm not saying that cannoli is the absolute worst.
I kind of let on that way.
I said it kind of sucks, but that doesn't mean it's bottom of the barrel.
Might have to roll
it might be like
back.
7th out of 10.
I think I heard most underrated was a phrase that may have been used.
Here's my take on your take. I think you just don't like cannolis, which is fine, but I don't think you can call cannolis overrated. Because they are delicious, and the majority of people like them. Maybe they aren't your thing. That's okay.
Yeah, maybe they're not my thing.
But they are not overrated. They are properly rated.
What would you... Okay, all right. Well, so how would you rate them?
I don't think... Does anyone say that a cannoli is their favorite dessert? I don't think anyone says it's their... You think people say it's their favorite dessert?
I hope not.
I hope not.
No. But it's a good dessert, which is exactly what it is.
I had a couple cannolis in October. I was like, I enjoyed this.
Right.
I have no desire to get another one.
Which is, I think, how people rate cannolis, and I think that's the proper rating. It's
underwhelming.
Well, maybe you ask too much of the cannoli. Maybe that's on you.
I gotta lower my standards.
Right.
Yeah, you're asking. Well, to be fair, you are asking cannoli to be a cheesecake, and that is just not a fair fight.
Yeah.
Is cheesecake
the best dessert?
Cheesecake? No, not even close. I'm not a big cheesecake guy.
Whoa. Maybe you've never had a good cheesecake.
I've had plenty of cheesecake. You want to talk about an overrated dessert? Cheesecake.
That's a hot take. That's scorching hot.
I mean, I've had shitty cheesecake, so
yeah, I guess basically anything that you get from a grocery store. Probably because I was going to say grocery store cheesecake.
Yeah, we're not comparing. We're not comparing the same here. Like, because if you can buy it at Stop and Shop and you get it from Stop and Shop, it's probably not that good unless it's a pistachio muffin. But yeah, if you go to like a legitimate bakery, whatever you get's gonna be nails. Except for now, this is a niche dessert. Except for like a streufely. Have you ever had a streufely?
I don't think I have.
No. Okay, that is like they're like very, very airy dough balls.
Ooh.
And they're very like thin layered, so it's almost like eating air. And they're covered in honey, just honey. So they're like super sticky, and then they just throw like rainbow sprinkles on top. It's like an Italian thing. They're very just not good because it looks like it should be like good because it's like it almost looks like a monkey bread, and then you get it, and all that remains is disappointment.
Interesting.
But that's a specialized dessert. Like that's Italians on holidays, like panettone. Like we're not talking panettone here.
I will say though, when it comes to food, I think we collectively live in the best place in the country. best places in the country for food. I think New York City and Boston are superiorly above and beyond everywhere else.
Yeah.
Outside of like the specialized things, right? Like obviously, like if you want Texas barbecue, like go to Houston or, go to.
Yeah, but you can get barbecue in other parts of the country and it might be better, like Kansas City, St. Louis, like.
Right. But yeah, so
credit to us for East Coast food.
Yeah. All right. Ian, you had some time to come up with a final thought.
Yeah, my final thought is a sport that we haven't talked about yet. My final thought is that the Boston Bruins are frauds and they aren't nearly as good as their record, and they're like really like the fourth or fifth best team in the East, and certainly not the best team in the NHL.
So when the time comes, because obviously I know everyone's first bet today was probably take Stanley Cup odds 5-1, something like that. When the time comes, whenever they do get out of the first round and enter the second round, I will be betting them to lose in 6 games exactly.
Yep. Yeah, being a Bruins fan for my entire life, that has been the norm. They have a great team.
You know who they might be playing in the second round?
Is it still Tampa?
Well,
the
winner of Tampa and the Leafs. So yes, probably Tampa, to be honest.
Yeah. It's what happens without a doubt every year. 2011 was a fluke. I mean, obviously we made it in 13 and was it 17 or 18?
It was 13 and then 19 when they lost to the Blues at home, Game 7.
Yeah, wonderful. It's what they do. It's what they're really good at. I mean, we're the three of us get to be fans of some amazing heartbreak hockey teams.
I feel no sympathy for
nothing
Boston Bruins fans.
Nothing
not a lick of sympathy.
Nothing compares. I'm like I cringed a little bit when you said that.
But I mean, I do. I am interested though in the Bruins are frauds take, and I might be betting against them a little bit because they've lost 3 in a row.
3 in a row, and they're playing the Leafs tonight, right? No,
tomorrow night.
Yeah, because it's almost like a regress to the mean type of thing. Like when I was hitting at 62% in the pick'em pool this year, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to keep that up. Like it's unsustainable. So it's almost like, oh, okay, when they were they like 36-4-2 or something, whatever the hell they were, like,
well,
that's
listen,
unsustainable.
You guys know I'm a big stats guy.
Right.
So just bringing up some stats, just looking over the last 25 games, they're 18th in the NHL in Corsi percentage. Now, does anyone know what Corsi percentage really means? No. But doesn't matter? No. It's advanced analytic that is important. What did I say? 28th or something in the NHL over the last 25 games? Expected goals for percentage. So looking at expected goals for and expected goals against, they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in the NHL over the last 25 games. They're a very good team, and what's carrying them is their goaltender, because Linus Ullmark is probably going to win the Vezina Trophy. They stop the puck very well, and they're also a very good shooting team. And that makes up for a lot of underlying advanced analytics where they're good but not great. Are they a good team? Yes. Are they a playoff team? Yes. Are they even a Stanley Cup contender? Yes. Are they the best team in the NHL by a wide margin? Not even close. The Carolina Hurricanes are the best team in the NHL.
Right. So what stats do you use when you break down hockey? Like, what are your preferred ones?
Corsi percentage is one. Now, what Corsi percentage actually is, it measures every single type of shot and then compares it to the types of shots again. So it counts block shots, it counts missed shots, and it's supposed to be a way that you calculate possession. So Corsi is a big one, and the other one is expected goals and expected goals for and expected goals against, and then high danger scoring chances for, high danger scoring chances against. And then you have to look at the simple ones: shooting percentage and save percentage. Now, what I've been doing this year in the NHL, which has helped me a lot, and I've had a very good NHL season, is I've actually cut the sample size to only looking at the last 10 games. So putting a lot more stock into recent form as opposed to season-long performance. And that has helped me out. Now, maybe that's just maybe those two things aren't correlated. Maybe I just happen to be hot and it just happens that I'm looking at the last 10 games, but it's worked for me for a little over a month. So I'm going to stick to it and see what happens. Tonight, as of we're recording this, I bet the under in all 3 games, and it looks like it might go 0-3. So a little bit of a tough night tonight. 4-1, 3-2, 3-2 at the end of the second. So they're all like 1 goal away from losing. But yeah, I've had a solid NHL season. It's largely due, or at least I think it is, to measuring over the last 10 games recent form as opposed to season long numbers. Because in the past, I always thought I'd want to look at the biggest sample size possible, which was the full season. But maybe teams just play, maybe momentum and recent form has a lot more to do with it than just looking at the biggest sample size possible. So that's kind of how I adjusted my NHL betting a little bit this year.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, because I was just curious because I know I've dabbled with looking into, the NHL stuff before. With my new job now, I say this before, but I have a lot less free time than my last job. I used to spend 2 hours every morning looking at baseball games.
Yes.
And that one season, so that was the summer of 2021. And I don't remember my exact record, but I think I ended the season like plus 27 units or something like that.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, it was, and I just don't have that same amount of time to do stuff like that anymore. But I was just curious as to like what you look at as important, when it comes to hockey. And the last 10 games is interesting too, because clearly it's worked
so far.
Yeah.
So far.
Well, there's got to be something where I don't know what the threshold is, but what these teams were doing in October, how relevant is it?
Right.
So. Yeah, it's a weird dichotomy between the sports when you look at them, between like how the NHL, like you said, what they do in October doesn't really matter anymore. But then a sport like the NFL, which we're kind of wrapping up. It's like, I know the obvious difference is you play 1 game a week versus, 2 to 4 games a week. But, it's almost like the opposite happens. Like people underemphasize in football and kind of overemphasize in hockey, or vice versa. I don't know. I'm too dumb to know which one is which.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting how
I also think in football, game plan it plays such a big role, which makes football kind of tough because you don't know what game plan these guys are coming up with. Because with a week in between each game, they're watching film, they're coming up with a very specific strategy for each team. They're going to do different formations, different packages. In sports like hockey and basketball, you don't have time to implement a week's worth of game plan into one game because you're playing sometimes in a back-to-back, multiple times a week. So I think that's another thing that makes football a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Iain, for coming on. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, best place to find me on Twitter at Iain MacBets, IAIN MacBets, and check out the Bacon Bets podcast as well. I think I'm going to start doing that in the mornings after the Super Bowl, so keep an eye out for that.
Nice. You're going to switch into, I know you were doing golf last year on Bacon Bets. So you're going to do NHL too, or?
I think I'm going to do golf, yes, but I'm going to start waking up early, doing my golf bets, and then having that out and available for people to listen to when they wake up and get ready for work and on their way to work. So it's going to mean I'm going to have to wake up early, which is not something I like doing, but that's the plan. We'll see how that goes. It might last a week.
Give it the old college try.
Yes.
All right. Well, for everyone else, obviously you can get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. We're on Twitter at Sarcasm_speaks, Facebook page Sarcasm Speaks, website sarcasmspeaks.com. You know how to get us. Go to the merch store, buy some of our merch. And until next time.